When your parrot screams the moment you leave the room, do you actually know what they're trying to say? You probably think you do. It's attention seeking. It's a bad habit. It's just what parrots do. But the truth is, your parrot has never once screamed at you out of spite. What's actually happening is something researchers spent decades trying to understand, and it starts before you even reach the door. Let's start with the assumption almost every parrot owner makes. 1. It was never about attention. You leave the room. The screaming starts. And your first thought is, they just want attention. Most owners believe this. It makes sense. The parrot screams, you come back, the screaming stops. So clearly it worked. But here's what's actually happening. Your parrot doesn't live in your house the way you think it does. In its mind, it doesn't live in a house at all. It lives in a flock, and that flock has exactly one member. You. In the wild, parrots are never alone. Wild African grey parrots roost in groups of several hundred. They forage together, sleep together, and call to each other constantly. Not out of neediness, but because in parrot biology, sound is the thread that holds the flock together when they can't see each other. That specific call, the one that says, I'm here, where are you still safe, has a name. Researchers call it a contact call, and it is one of the most fundamental behaviors in parrot life. When you leave the room, your parrot's nervous system doesn't register owner left. It registers flock member missing. Unknown location. No confirmation of safety. The scream isn't a tantrum. It's a contact call. The only tool your parrot has for finding the one living thing its entire world revolves around. It's not asking for attention. It's asking if you're okay. And by the way, what happens when you respond to that call is something most owners get completely wrong. We'll get to exactly what to do near the end of this video, because the way you answer changes everything. That's not neediness. That's a love built on 50 million years of never losing track of the ones that matter. 2. The scream starts before you leave. Here's something that will make you watch your parrot differently starting today. Think about what you do every morning before you leave. You make coffee, you check your phone, you put on shoes, you pick up your keys. Now think about when your parrot starts getting restless. It's not when the door closes. It's earlier. Maybe when you reach for your shoes. Maybe the moment your keys come off the hook. Your parrot has watched your departure routine so many times that it has memorized every step, backwards. Veterinary behaviorists studying parrots found that many birds begin showing measurable stress responses not when their owner leaves, but when the leaving routine begins. Some parrots start reacting the moment their owner picks up their phone in the morning. That means by the time you actually walk out the door, the scream you hear isn't the beginning of your parrot's distress. It's the peak of something that's been building for 20 minutes. This is why the standard advice, distract them with a toy, put music on, give them a treat before you go, only works sometimes. You're intervening at the end of the sequence. The anxiety started long before you reached for that toy. Your parrot isn't reacting to the door closing. It's reacting to the entire story it knows comes after. That's not a behavior problem. That's a memory that loves you too much to pretend it doesn't know what's coming. 3. Not all screams sound the same. Have you ever noticed that your parrot's scream doesn't always sound the same? Sometimes it's rhythmic and repeating. Sometimes it builds into something that rattles the walls. Sometimes it goes quiet for a moment and then starts again. Those differences aren't random. Each one is telling you something specific. The contact call is the most common. Rhythmic, repeating, rising and falling at regular intervals. This is your parrot pinging for a response. It's saying, "Where are you? Just let me know you're there." The escalation scream is what happens when the contact call goes unanswered too long. It gets louder, the gaps get shorter, the pitch climbs. This is your parrot's nervous system shifting from inquiry to alarm. The flock member hasn't responded. Something might be wrong. And then there's the distress scream. Full volume, sustained, relentless. The sound that makes your neighbors consider moving. This is a parrot in genuine panic. In the wild, this call would bring the entire flock immediately. In your home, it brings silence. And that silence, to your parrot's nervous system, is the worst possible answer. Here's the part that surprises most owners. When you come running back because the screaming got too loud, your parrot doesn't learn to be quieter. It learns that louder worked. When you shout back to tell it to stop, it doesn't hear correction. It hears a response. Screaming produced a vocal exchange. Screaming worked. Every reaction that comes from frustration accidentally teaches your parrot that escalating is the right strategy. That's not stubbornness. That's your parrot doing exactly what its biology told it to do and getting results. 4. The response that actually works. So what do you actually do? Most owners have tried everything. Ignoring it, coming back, covering the cage, saying no. And nothing works consistently because none of those responses speak the language your parrot is actually using. Here's what the research points to, and it's simpler than anything you've been told. Answer it. Not by running back into the room, not by shouting, by responding the way a flock member would. Call back from wherever you are. A consistent phrase, "I'm here," or a whistle you only use for this one thing. Something that means, "I got your message. I'm safe." The flock is still intact. Researchers studying contact call exchanges in wild parrot flocks found that a successful call and response, one bird calls, another answers, reduces the calling bird's vocalization rate within seconds, not minutes, seconds. Because the call was never about duration, it was about confirmation. Once the confirmation arrives, the call is no longer necessary. And hey, if this is changing the way you see your parrot right now, hit that like button and subscribe. That's how we reach more parrot owners who actually want to understand what their bird has been trying to tell them. That's not a trick. That's the only response that speaks your parrot's actual language. 5. Your parrot assigned you a name. Here's the part of this story that stopped me completely the first time I learned it. Most owners assume their parrot calls out generally when they leave. Just noise into the air. But researchers at the University of Copenhagen studying wild orange-fronted conures discovered something remarkable. Parrots don't contact call generally. They imitate the specific vocal signature of the specific flock member they're trying to reach. Each parrot has what amounts to a unique sound pattern, something close to a name, and when one bird wants to reach another, it uses that bird's signature in the call. The researchers described it as the closest thing to using a name ever documented in a non-human animal. Now think about what your parrot has been doing with your voice. Every day since you brought it home, your parrot has been listening, cataloging, learning the specific patterns of how you sound. And in many cases, especially in parrots who say your name or imitate your laugh or mimic the way you call them, what they're doing isn't performing a trick. They're building your signature, so they can call you specifically. When your parrot screams your name the moment you leave the room, it isn't repeating something it was taught. It's doing what wild parrots do when a flock member goes out of sight. It is calling you by name. That's not a party trick. That's one of the most sophisticated social behaviors documented in the animal kingdom, happening in your living room every single day. 6. The mistake that makes everything worse. There's one response to parrot screaming so common, so instinctive, and so consistently wrong that behavioral researchers flag it specifically in the literature. Yelling back. Not always in anger. Sometimes it's just a loud, "It's okay" from the kitchen. Sometimes it's "Stop it." Sometimes it's just an exasperated sigh loud enough for your parrot to hear. The words don't matter, the energy does. Because here's what's actually happening when you raise your voice. Your parrot called out of uncertainty. It needed confirmation that the flock was safe. And you responded, but your tone carried something elevated. Something changed. And in flock biology, a flock member whose energy shifts is a flock member responding to a threat. Your parrot called because it wasn't sure everything was okay. You answered in a way that confirmed something might not be. The uncertainty doesn't resolve, it compounds. This is why so many owners describe the screaming getting worse the harder they try to stop it. The frustration in their voice, completely understandable, is being read by their parrot as evidence that the alarm was justified. The calm response from another room isn't just kinder. It's the only answer that tells your parrot's nervous system what it actually needs to hear. Everything is okay. I'm here. The flock is whole. 7. When the screaming suddenly changes. This is what I mentioned at the beginning, and it might be the most important thing in this entire video. Your parrot's contact call has a baseline. You know it even if you've never thought about it consciously. The rhythm, the pitch, the interval between calls. Over time, you learn what your parrot's normal sounds like, even if you've only ever experienced it as noise. When that pattern changes, when a bird that has always called in a specific rhythm suddenly screams differently, more urgently, less patterned, or goes quieter than usual for no obvious reason, pay attention. Sometimes it's environmental. Something new in the home, an unfamiliar sound outside, a shift in the household routine. Parrots are extraordinarily sensitive to changes in their environment, and that sensitivity shows up first in their vocalizations. But sometimes it's physical. Pain and illness in parrots are notoriously invisible. In the wild, showing weakness invites predation, so parrots hide what's wrong with extraordinary efficiency. They won't limp dramatically. They won't ask for help. But the contact call, the sound woven so deeply into who they are, often shifts before any other symptom appears. The owners who catch health issues early in parrots are almost always the ones paying close enough attention to notice when the calling changed. That sound you've been hearing every day, the one that's driven you to close doors and wear headphones and wonder why you ever got a bird, is also the clearest window you have into how your parrot is actually doing. Learn what your parrot's normal sounds like, not to silence it, to understand it. Because the day it changes, you'll want to know the difference. Your parrot came from a world where silence meant danger, where the sound of a familiar voice meant safety, where losing track of a flock member wasn't inconvenient, it was catastrophic. That world lives inside your parrot, every single day. And every time you walk out of the room, it does the only thing its biology knows how to do. It calls for you, not out of habit, not out of manipulation, not because it was never trained properly. Because to your parrot, you are not just a person it lives with. You are the only flock it has ever known. Drop a comment and tell me what your parrot does the moment you leave. Does it call your name, use a whistle, or make a sound it invented completely on its own? I read every single one. And if you want to understand why that same parrot, the one that just called for you across the house, will bite you the moment you reach out to pet it, that video will be up tomorrow. The reason will completely change how you respond. I'll see you tomorrow.